Got it.
All right, excellent. Good morning. Happy Monday, everybody. Welcome to the A's Disease of Building a Real Estate team. And just for clarity, because I don't think I've seen either one of you on a call previously, this is designed for agents who are just starting to want to build a team, considering it, and for any agents who have one already that are maybe looking at scaling up or having hiccups where they are. We discuss, what that looks like. All topics are open. So it can be an open forum. Sometimes we come to it with a lot prepared in advance, but we usually let you guys know. And I'm letting a couple more folks in now. So Liliana, I know you've got some things you're stuck on. So maybe we'll just start with what you feel like you're stuck on.
So I just started my sales team this last few months. I launched it in like April. So I guess what I'm stuck on is like I wanted to take a step back and just support and coach so that they could produce, but they're not producing at the level that they need to produce. So I step back into producing. And then ultimately I have an assistant, but sometimes I don't know how to coach her into duplicating the things that I do. So
Okay.
I think, that's kind of what I'm stuck on. And like, maybe I was thinking, and now I have a team of 10, but I'm thinking about scaling it back and make it even smaller so that I could hold them more accountable, and provide more opportunities for those that are actually hungry, because there's some on the team. So I started the team because I was like, okay, I want to build my downline and then also have a team. But then I was like, shit, these are two way different perspectives. And like, now I feel like my downline is suffering because I've kind of abandoned that because I've been so focused on my team. So it's like, okay, how do I drive both, and be successful at both? Because right now I feel like I'm trying to drive both and I'm kind of like stagnant.
Okay, so first of all, great questions, and certainly not the first person to get to where you are right now. With like, okay, so tell me, 10 people on your team, do they all handle both sellers and buyers?
No, so they're fairly newer to the industry. I guess that's where kind of I dropped the ball. And I've kind of been like cutting people out, the ones that don't show up at all or haven't really done anything. I've have omitted them from the team. Then I have some that are kind of here, kind of there. But I want to be a high producing team. So
Okay.
I can produce on my own. I kind of went through numbers with them, and my numbers from last year to this year aren't really any different. And I have a whole bunch of people behind me, and I'm like, this isn't making any sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
The two things don't add up.
yeah, like I could do this on my own. I really don't even need you guys in a sense. And I didn't want to say that to them, but yeah, so that's
okay.
And then ultimately I was thinking about maybe even scaling about even further, maybe getting like having like 2 to 3 buyers agents, and then me just focus on listing it, and then having an assistant that just kind of does all the paper trail and the meetings and all that stuff on the back end.
Okay. So what you've done is what a lot of folks do, right? We think we're going to bring all these people on, they're going to do great work, and I can kind of take a step back, like you said, and coach, mentor, guide, that sort of thing. And usually the biggest hiccup that most people make when they start building is who they're hiring. Okay. And there's nothing wrong with hiring a newbie, and that's what I call them, a newbie, someone brand new to the industry that they don't know anything about it. However, they do tend to require a lot of attention, right? A lot of time and attention and focus on getting them trained and getting them going. So I would say the first step that most of us make the hiccup on, and we've all done it, is just hiring whomever, because they say that they're going to come in and they're going to work. And there are going to be 4 words I want you to write down: hungry, humble, smart, and coachable. That's what you're looking for. Hungry, humble, smart. If you haven't read The Ideal Team Player, it's a great book to read. They do hungry, humble, and smart. We add coachable because that's really important for the team. If they're not coachable, then we have much bigger problems. If they think they know everything and they're not open to any feedback or learning opportunities, then we have other kinds of problems. But you really want someone who's hungry on your team. Now, this is something we've all done. Someone comes in and they say they want to become a realtor, or maybe they're working another job currently, and they want to transition, but they have no focus on what that looks like to go from one to the other. So we hire someone who may do 1 or 2 transactions every 6 months. Well, that's not a great team player, right? Because now you're trying to keep track of when they're working, when they're not working. Are they available? Are they not available? And did they really plan to transition from being one thing to another? So I would say if you're going to be building a team, focus more on people who are 100% available.
Yeah.
Like they don't have another job. I will take people who have another job, but we are so clear during the recruiting process about what it looks like to go from here to here, and like what hours are you available? How much do we need to put in your savings account where you feel like you could quit job A and move to job B? So that's really the only time I take people who work another position, because it's just so hard to manage someone that's
Yeah.
part-time, right? So you did what a lot of us have done. I'm gonna bring all these people in, and then they're maybe not as hungry as you'd like them to be,
Right.
right? And this is something Rick and I are going through right now, where we're like, okay, well, who are we looking for? What does that person look like, right? And so that first word hungry is really important, because you're relying on them to support your business. If you are listing, and I love what you said, because there are a lot of ways to run a team. Rick and I focus primarily on the ones that we have with Workman Success, because we're both master coaches with Workman Success, which is that you have listing agents and you have buyer's agents. And the reason that we do that is because you become masters of those two things versus switching gears, right? Oh, am I handling a listing today? Am I handling a buyer today? And for you, listing at a high level is less time consuming than handling buyers.
Yeah.
Right. So you bring those people in as buyer's agents. Now, what seems like has happened maybe is, what are you doing for levels of accountability with those people? Right. You did say that you cut some people who weren't showing up, but what does it look like to be accountable on your team every day?
Yeah, so we have Follow Up Boss. And in the beginning, I was kind of like in the air with what they should be doing. Well, it was kind of like an option. Like you have to make at least 200 dials a month on Follow Up Boss just to hold yourself accountable. Or at least 3 hours of talk time, just so that I know that you're busy and you're actually dedicating to this craft, which I don't even think those are crazy numbers.
No.
It was just an optional choice. Now I've gotten to them like, if you're not doing this, like, then this isn't the place for you, and maybe you need to go get a different job or a different team or something. So now we're kind of like stepping that up. And then as far as the new leads go, I've set the tone, and I'm like, okay, you need at least 12 to 16 touch points within the first 2 to 3 weeks of meeting that new lead in order to convert them at a high level. Because at first I was giving them leads and they'd call them twice and be like, oh, they're cold, that's not how this works, So I've been kind of setting the tone there. And then if they don't come to a meeting, I have Zillow, I give them Zillow leads. So if they don't come to a Zillow meeting, we have an accountability call every 2 weeks. If they don't come to that meeting, then they're paused. So I have been kind of setting the tone and the bar a little bit higher. So I guess, I don't know if that's anything else I should add.
That's good. What I would recommend is, so accountability is really, really hard when it's not very, very consistent. So what I would suggest is doing something like huddles via Zoom at least 3 times a week, where we're talking about what our accountability is going to be around. What do you have on tap for today? What's your goal for today? Is it to get a new buyer? Is it to set a new appointment? Is it to make 25 calls? And when they have to say it out loud on a Zoom huddle, it becomes a lot more real, because you're going to ask about it on the next huddle. How did Monday go? Did you get the 25 calls? Did you set an appointment? Right? They start to expect that productivity, because we're going to ask about it regularly, versus saying it's a monthly number. When you give them a monthly number, they will literally wait until day 28 to start making the 200 calls.
Right.
So that's why we try to do something more weekly. Are they coming into the office at all? Do you guys have meetings like that?
So I have a space. So I have them coming on Tuesdays and Thursdays. We would have script practice. But I wasn't doing like the accountability of what you guys are doing today. So what kind of questions should I be asking them as far as morning?
So like we had a huddle this morning. So typically it starts with, I say good morning and I'm like, somebody give me wins. What was your win from over the weekend? Right. And I had one, and I got 2 new buyers. I had an incredible open house and we've got new contacts from there. One of them has a listing. I think it's actually we're going to get 2 offers. We start with that positivity, right? Very first thing. Then we talk about what's on tap for today. What do you have going on? How many calls are you making? Today we have a new lead flow system in. So we spent a long time on our huddle. Normally it's 30 minutes maximum. This morning we were on for almost an hour and a half, because we have a new lead flow system coming in, and everybody was trying to get accustomed to it. But it was like, let's set the expectations. Here's how many touches Same thing I expect to see. If I don't see you responding within this period of time, it'll transfer to another agent. So some of it's me setting expectations back, right? Like, here's what we're looking for. But by making them say it out loud, here's my goal for today, right? The one that had the listing was, my goal is to get one of these two people that were really interested to put an offer in today. The other one was, hey, I had these two buyer leads that I met at the open house. I want to get them signed up. We talked about buyer agency agreements this morning too, and like getting into that. But the 30 minutes is about setting intention and saying it out loud. Because when we say it out loud, there's a higher level of accountability, especially when we have a group on, right? Because you're going to ask about it on the next one. Hey, and I write them down, right? Whatever they tell me, I'm writing it down, whatever their intention was. And then on Wednesday, I'm going to say, hey, did you get the offer in? Hey, what happened to the two buyers you met at open house, blah, 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 you know, and then hopefully there's a win. Hopefully they're already going to tell me at the win. If they do, I just mark it off my list. And if they didn't, then I'm going to go back and say, how did it go? What happened? Do you need support on this? What does that look like? Huddle should really be about them stating what their intention for that day or that week is, and then the follow-up on what did or didn't happen and why. We can ask. We can say what happened.
Got it. So huddles, you meet, set intentions, set tasks, and you reflect the following week on. So if you're meeting 3 times a week and you're setting.
So they're not currently doing a sales meeting. That's kind of what turned into today, which I intend to be implementing going forward, because there has to be some sort of training time that's longer than 30 minutes. So that's my goal to start at the beginning of the year, because today it turned into that because out of necessity, out of the questions that were being asked, you really need to give yourself some time during the week that you've got an hour, hour and a half to even 2 hours, depending on what you're training, that is all training. Hey, this like, I coach a bunch of teams all across the country. Your lights go off. I coach a bunch of teams all across the country. And last week I was helping one of them run their huddles. And we realized that there was an urgent need. He has 3 newbie agents on the team, and they're being too nice when a buyer says, oh, I think I'm going to wait. Right. So what we did was, in anticipation for this week's sales meeting, every conversation they had with a buyer for the next week, they had a responsibility to go to the whiteboard in the office and write down what the objection was about why somebody bailed. Okay, like, why are we waiting? Is it the interest rate's too high? Whatever it is. And then on our sales meeting, we're just going to go right down the list. So first, it'll be like role playing for like a straight hour, hour and a half of, this is what we're going to say when they say this. This is what we're going to say when they say this. Those kinds of training opportunities take longer. So I would recommend huddles throughout the week, and one day where it's truly training. And you can do any number of things. You could have a lender pop on, you know, and tell them whatever the newest products are that are out, title person come on, inspector come on, especially if you have a lot of newbies. We're trying to teach them more and more, but plan those out in advance based on need. So it gets to the point, Liliana, where they want to show up for the meeting because they're getting so much value out of it. And it's almost impossible for them to not do more transactions with that level of accountability.
Right.
And you know, and I think what you said earlier is, look, sometimes you have to, it's going to sound terrible, but you have to cull the herd, right? Like, if they are not producing and they're not showing up and they don't have those same intentions that you do for running a business like a business,
right?
Perhaps they stay within EXP and they stay within your org, but they're not a part of the team.
Got it. Okay, that makes sense.
You know, it's a hard conversation to have, but trust me, everybody across the country who's running a team has this problem. It's that, you know, people say, oh, you know, I got into this because I wanted to do a couple of transactions. That's great. But on our team, this is what we do. And we require a certain level of productivity because it really does cost you money.
It does. Yeah.
You know, and even so, some people think of that only as hard cost. And I'm also thinking about the soft cost, which is your time and energy spent holding them accountable and training without there being any return on investment. So sometimes, you know, I have to explain that and say, listen, I get it. 2 transactions a year is great for you, but we invest a lot of time, energy, and money between Team KV Core and team leads and lead flow and marketing and all the different things that we have running out there. There has to be some level of that returned in order for us to consider you still an active part of the team.
Right.
And sometimes they just don't know how to do it yet. So I would say have that one-on-one conversation with them first. Did you have business planning meetings with them, like what they wanted to earn for the year?
Yeah, we had that last month where I met with them one-on-one and we kind of went over their goals and how many transactions and what they were looking to do and how much money they wanted to make. We did all of that. And then
Was
this
it in alignment with what you wanted for
Yeah, it
production?
was
Like,
very similar,
okay,
and
okay,
then this month I'm like, "Okay, well, you said you'd be dialing 3 times a week, you'd be making these many calls, like,
yeah,
there's none of that."
yeah,
So,
yeah.
um, so I'm like, I don't know, like, I'm kinda just spinning my wheels. And then I have this office space here, which ultimately I got it to, like, just have it be a space for EXP agents to come and recruit agents to it. But I feel like because my team is here, I feel like it doesn't feel like an open platform for others. So I
Okay.
don't know if that makes
Hmm.
sense. Because I have my team here and they're like, okay. And I'm like, well, you can come hang out here. Like it's in the space. It's not huge. It's like 1,600 square feet.
Yeah.
Um, but ultimately it was because there is no office space in this area really for an EXP office. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna create this space. So when I talk to agents, I don't know, I feel like they just feel like I want to recruit them to my team, and that's not the case at all. So
Uh,
I don't know
okay.
how to like separate that?
But they're EXP agents, yes?
So what I'm saying is when I'm recruiting agents that are not EXP agents,
Okay,
you
got
know,
it, got it. Oh,
um,
they're assuming you're wanting to do the team and not just to the org.
yes.
Okay,
So I think
okay. So
separating
there's
that.
there's an interesting way to consider that. So we're going through this right now too, of like there's an option and you get a certain level of what you get from us as an org, like you guys do, versus what you get from the team, right? And you can it's all in how you are presenting that. I love the fact that you offer that space. And, I think it would be great if they saw a culture of productivity within this space, even if they were coming in for recruiting and see that you have team coming in and dialing and doing all of those wonderful things, because that shows an energy,
Mhm.
right? So are they coming in regularly or like the team members? Like what they do?
No, they don't even come
No.
really, maybe like 3 times a week. So right now
Okay, that's not too
I'm here besides me and my lender.
bad. Gotcha.
I'm like, I
Gotcha.
don't have to sit in my office. I could just sit here, in the open space.
Well, I don't think I mean I think that's just in how you present it. I think, you can just say, look, there's and I might show you something. I took down your name, so I might email you after the thing just to show you something about how that might look. But I think for right now, let's focus on the team side of it because we have a different call for builders if you're recruiting and whatnot. But I would say have another sit down if you feel like normally if I see someone's not doing the activities that they made a commitment to do, I say, hey, listen, can we just sit down for a one-on-one sometime
Mhm,
soon and let's talk about what this looks like for you, because last month you indicated this and this is what I'm seeing this month. And I try to come from a place of curiosity and not judgment,
mhm,
right? That first place, like what's going on. A lot of people are deeply affected by the market right now, which does not bother me at all. I'm super excited about this market, so it doesn't scare me, but they are getting outside feedback, right, from what they're seeing out there. So I try to see if that's bringing them down. I call it a poo poo attitude lately. I feel like so many agents have it right now, and I'm like, okay,
yeah,
it is what you make it.
right.
So check to see if there's also anything going on in their life that has changed for them. If not, and they just say, oh, I'm struggling with doing the activities, I'm struggling, say fine, let's make a commitment, let's
Mhm,
come in, let's see how you're working, let's see what you're doing. And it's up to you. You can set guidelines behind, hey, I'm going to give you 60 days, or I'm going to give you 90 days to see that the activities are happening. Like as a team, we are focused on productivity, and I want to help you get there if that's where you do tell me you want to be. So let's take the next 60 or 90 days, let's do this, come in, let's role play together, or maybe they role play with another person, especially if you've got two people who are struggling, make them accountability partners. So
mhm.
that's another thing that you can do is set up a partnership between each person and say they have to hold each other accountable and role play together. That way it takes some of the work off of your plate.
Yeah, yeah.
And they just kind of report in. Um, so out of the 10 that you have, how many are producing regularly?
Like 4.
4.
4,
Okay.
yeah.
Anybody in any kind of close to leadership role or feeling like they're doing enough that they could?
Um, yeah, there's someone on the team that I think could, like, run script practice.
Yeah, so that's what I was thinking. Like, so to take some of it off of your plate, everyone loves to be asked to contribute in a way like that. So
Mhm.
you could always start there and say, could you run script practice? Or because then you're lifting them up, right?
Right.
A bit, and it shows that they've got a little bit more experience in that. And then even if you start seeing someone else, say, could you rotate and have different
Mhm.
people doing different things? And I even like it, like if I have to be out at an appointment or something like that, saying, hey, could you run huddle tomorrow? Let
Mhm.
them run huddle and give them that. So we're starting to create a different level of culture. Do you guys have core values for your team in place already?
No.
Okay. Okay. So this is big. This is really, really big because I hire and fire to core values.
Oh,
So they are in everything. They're in our listing presentation, our buyer presentation, and typically they're on the wall and they're in any recruiting presentation that I do. And that is because that's how strongly we feel about it. So
wow.
I'm going to send you a couple of examples for that too. So here's what I suggest you do. If you have people on your team that you feel confident about keeping
Mhm.
and sticking around, but maybe they just need help, I would schedule, I don't call it a retreat, I call it an advance because retreat means you're moving backwards and advance means you're moving forward. So call it a team advance and set a day that you guys all get together in the office. And I try to give like a full day.
Mhm.
One of my favorite activities is defining core values together. Okay, so that means everybody sits around the table, you get a whiteboard or an easel board or whatever, and you're like, hey, you know what? I want to create core values about what defines us as a team to everyone to within us, to our sellers, to our buyers, to referral agents. Like, what are the words or phrases that we want to use that
Mhm.
clearly define what we depict outwardly and in every aspect of what we do? And make everybody just starts throwing words, right? You're putting it on the whiteboard, you're writing it down. And usually what you'll find is several things kind of sound the same as other things and whatnot. And the idea is to get it down to like roughly 8 options that are like, this is it. This is like integrity, creating happiness and joy or whatever there's like a lot of different people have like there's a billion different core values out there.
Mhm.
I'll send you a bunch of options. And when you define them, okay, everybody agrees on them. Usually I send mine to like Fiverr or Upwork and I have somebody and as a designer create them in some way that looks like the rest of our marketing,
Mhm.
so that we can put that in all of our stuff. And then you make an addendum to everybody's contract
Mhm.
that states that they acknowledge and receive and will live by the core values of the team
Oh, I love that.
in everything that they do.
Got.
Okay, because what we start to do over time is at your sales meetings, people will say, I noticed that Liliana exhibited core value number 3 this week. I watched her treat a client this way or treat a team member this way. We start talking about it a little bit more often. But 9 times out of 10, when I'm releasing someone to the team, I can point to the wall and tell them why. Because one of the core values is the things that they didn't live up to,
Right. Yeah.
right? Whether it's integrity or whatever it is, right? So that's maybe we just need to work on the culture of
Yeah.
the team and start there. But core values, most people kind of put that at the end and they don't think it's that important. It's on our website, it's everywhere, right?
Right.
Because that's how much we take it in and making sure that everybody sees that that's what we live to.
Mhm.
And when you hire people, like I said, at a recruiting appointment, usually because like it takes me 3 to 4 appointments before I actually have somebody join, how many conversations we have to make sure we're the right fit, especially on a team, is I'm sliding that over. Sorry, my Siri is popping up for some reason right now. Um, that I'm sliding it over and saying, I would like you very carefully to review our core values and make sure you feel like you're in alignment with everything we have here. This
Okay.
is something that we live by on our team. So let's just discuss them and how this might be reflected within the team and with your clients.
Okay.
So maybe that's a good place to start. And I would do that at the advance. Make that like a group thing, right?
Mhm.
Everybody's in it together. They all feel like they contributed to what that was. So it makes it more impactful. It's not that Liliana just showed up and told us these are our core values. It's kind of a
Right.
different way of doing it. And then you might start to see some of the culture change and make sure that there's something in there about production. Not necessarily, you don't want to say just production, but just saying, that we're hungry, right? A lot of people have that word in their core values or, working towards that level of production. It's not that we're just showing up and closing 2 transactions a year,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Okay. I know I'm talking a lot here. Hi, Tom. I see you joined. Hi, hi, hi.
Chime in, guys. I don't want to be the
Yeah,
spotlight
yeah.
of the
No,
show.
I think it was a great questions. They were really great things about what people are going through. So Sochi, I'm hoping I'm still saying that right. And Tom, do you guys have anything you want to add or talk about today?
I think that your advice was awesome. I think Liliana's just going through growing pains of a business and just happens to be in real estate. Not to mention the fun of that the real estate market has radically changed in the last 4 months, 5 months. So that adds a lot of fun to it. You're absolutely on the right track, and Selena, your advice is golden. It really is how much people want it. It's a challenge when you're transitioning, from their current job to real estate. It sounds like a lot of people are in that situation, but just giving them bite-sized, doable acorn, steps to follow. And, time will tell. You'll see if they want it or not. Even if they're not producing, the fact that they're doing what you ask them to do, that they're taking step shows that effort and energy. And then you can tweak, okay, where are you missing a script? Are you missing a follow-up? Are you missing, what are you missing here? And then you can help coach them. But if they're not willing to do that, there's not a whole lot you can do. That's just life in the big city, and the realities of business, and they really have to treat it like a business. If you're serious about making this happen, it's going to take some effort. I'm sure you've heard the analogy many times about the space shuttle, that it takes an ungodly amount of the fuel to get it off the ground. But once it's off the ground, it has momentum, and it can carry it to the next step. And once momentum's built, you just have to, it takes a whole lot less effort to maintain it, but you've got to, get it off the ground. You've got to put in massive effort initially to make it happen. And in the one thing I heard him talking about Michael Phelps, and how they thought Michael Phelps is just this, he's a country unto himself. He's won so many gold medals. And they said, everyone thinks he's got so much discipline. He really doesn't. He just has developed good habits. And the habits are what is that momentum that's carried him through to every step along the way. So he's developed good habits. And once a habit's built, you don't have to think about it anymore. It doesn't take discipline. It's already habit. And the habit just takes over. So forgive me, that's just my editorial.
No, thank you for that, Tom. And that's exactly what the huddles are about, Liliana. It's like, because they're reporting on the habits, they start getting into they get into the habit of the habit, right? Because now they know you're going to ask. So it's almost, it's not shaming, but they start to get to the point, we can still see you, don't worry about the lights. Okay. They start worrying, she's going to ask, and I don't want to say I didn't do anything.
Yeah.
Right. So it starts to become an expectation that they're going to do it, because they know that you're going to ask the question, and they're going to be like, oh, I don't want to tell Liliana again that I didn't make any calls this week. Like, I want to be able to report that I did. And one of the biggest things I had a hard time with, me personally, with running a team, was me wanting it for them more than they wanted it for themselves.
That part. That's me.
And it took a lot for me to kind of let that go. And like, I would definitely have the accountability sessions, have the meetings with them and whatnot. And then finally I was like, okay, literally, I'm doing everything humanly possible to support you, and you're still not doing it. And at some point you have to let it go. You can't want it more for them than they want for themselves. You can show them the way, every step of the way. You can support them as much as possible, but unless they pick up the phone, unless they lead generate, unless they do the activities, and there's a point where it's just like, I can't. And I think that's an open and honest conversation. I'm pretty transparent, whenever I'm talking to somebody in a one-on-one. I'm like, okay, I'm trying to understand. When we met and we had your business plan, this is what you said you wanted. It's been 60 days. This is what's happened. I don't see you show up for huddles, or I don't see you making calls, or I don't see you holding open houses, or whatever it is, right? Like, I do come from curiosity first. Please tell me, is there anything going on right now that you feel is keeping you away from this or distracting you? Let's talk about that first, because sometimes that does happen. And then if it's not, sometimes they're really honest, and they'll be like, I just cannot make myself do it. I'm terrified of the phone, or whatever it is. And I appreciate the honesty. If they give it to me, and I'm like, okay, we have to decide. Do you want to push past that, or do you want to let it control you? Like, let's decide. And you can tell me, like, if you want to let it control you, this is not the place for you. Like, but if you say, I'm having trouble and I can't figure out how to get past it, and if they're coachable, they'll say, I need help. Right. That's okay. I will still help you, but you're going to do the activities, and you're going to show me that you're doing the activities. Right. And it's just like Tom said, if they're showing up, if they're committing, if they're doing it, and for whatever reason leads haven't converted or whatever it is, that's okay. Show me you're doing it. Okay. By the way, if they are making calls, these are the things that you can start learning as mentoring and guiding and training them. If you see they're making the calls and nothing's converting, something's wrong on the phone.
Mhm.
Okay, so now we know how many calls they made, but nothing's converting. You've got to listen. You got to say, hey, I need you to come in. I need you to make the call so I can hear what you're saying on the phone because something's happening on the phone. If they're going on appointments with buyers and they're not converting them into actual buyers and nobody's buying, something's happening when they're showing, something's happening at the buyer consultation, you know, that's not converting, right? So and that's what I tell them. When people hate accountability, guys, they freaking hate it. You hear it and you're like, everybody's shoulders go like, you know,
No,
everybody hates it. It's
exactly.
okay. And I tell them, I'm like, look, I don't want to babysit you either. You're a grown up.
Right.
I don't want to have to ask you. I'm asking you for these numbers and this information because 9 times out of 10, it's going to tell me where I can help you. So if
Mhm.
you're making that many calls and it's not converting, I can help you with the phone. If you're going on appointments and they're not buying or working with you, something's happening at the appointment. I can work with you on that. But when I don't know anything and nothing's happening, and I don't know how many calls you made or how many appointments you went on or whatever, how many doors you knocked or whatever it is, then I have no idea about where we strategically go in and say, let's start here.
Right. That
It's
makes
just too nebulous at that point. I'm like, well, I don't know where to start. Like, you're not doing anything, you know?
sense.
So that's why we do accountability. And I also tell them, I'm like, you told me you wanted this. You told me you needed to pay off this loan. You told me you wanted to pay off your student loans. You told me you wanted to buy a second house. You told me whatever it was. And I go back in there and I say, this is what you said. These are the activities you're doing. The two don't line up. Do you still want the second house? Like, and I ask them honestly, I'm like, has something shifted? Do you not want to pay off that debt? Because that's okay if it has, but let's talk about it. They just need to be reminded. You know, I think the difficult part with real estate, right, is that we have to be self-disciplined,
Mhm.
you know, to do things. And it's not everybody's first like love is to get up. You know, I get up every morning and I'm like raring to go, and I show up on Huddle and people are still in their PJs and things like that. And I was like, it's
Yeah.
8:30.
Like
Where are your clothes? I'm like, where are your clothes? You know? That's why it keeps popping up. I keep hitting my ear thingy. So, you know, it just kind of changes perspective when you change the culture to culture of productivity. You know, it's a term we use a lot at Workman of, yes, team culture is really important, but the culture needs to always be one of productivity. And that means that they see you making calls, they see other people making calls. If you've got new folks coming in, they get to see an energy within the office about what that looks like. And then just deciding, like, I would take the 10 that you have and have one-on-ones and say, listen, this is where we are. How transparent are you with all of the team numbers? Do you have something that says how many people are producing and like what's going on?
We have an escrow board in the office, like who's in escrow, what listings we have going on. So we're very transparent there. And then through follow up bosses or CRM, so that you can see who's making dials, who's not making dials.
Okay.
So I mean, it's very transparent as to who's doing what, who's setting appointments, who's not setting appointments.
Okay.
So that's all there. But I think when I started this team, I was kind of just all new and like gung ho, like, oh, it's a free for all, everybody come join me, you know, that I didn't like set the tone. And now I'm
Yeah.
like 8 months in and I'm like, shit, I don't want to go broke, you know?
No, I totally get it. So
And
here's what I
you
would do.
know,
Go
so
ahead.
now that I'm setting the tone, they're like, who the hell is this girl, you
Yeah,
know?
I know.
Um,
So, okay, so this is what I would do then at the advance. Create a day that you go, do the core values. Then I
mhm.
want you to talk about what 2022 looked like and be real about everybody's numbers. Goes up on the screen wherever you are, right? And then I want you to set what you want the 2023 numbers to be based on what they told you they wanted to close, volume or units, whatever it is, right? And you put that together as a team, calculate up. If you've got 10 people and they all said 12 units a piece, great. What should we be at? Yeah. And then every month we're putting it up on the board. Here's where we are in relation to the goals that we set at our team advance. And you've got a leaderboard. Liliana's in the lead. This, you know, Joe is in number 2, such as number 3, and we're putting it on there. The other thing that's a lot of fun, if you've got everybody engaged, I would do this after the advance. If you get everybody engaged and you say, we're moving forward in 2023 with a culture of productivity at our advance, this is what we're talking about. This is what we have on tap for this year. We're set on making our goals, whatever it is, then create contests. I've never met a more competitive group than a group of freaking realtors. They will do anything for a damn gas card, but they won't do it for a commission check. I don't understand it. I've never understood it in all of the years I've been in real estate. They can go and make a $10,000 commission check, but they will work harder for the $50 gas card that I offer up as a reward for a contest. I don't understand it, but the results still equal good things. So we've done it many, many times. Never make it on number of calls because they will lie. Hate to just lie. Okay, so make it on things like contracts written, things put into contract, or closings, or whatever, like an actual definable, you could see it in the MLS sort of a thing. So, or appointments taken, new buyer appointment, new listing appointment, whatever it is, and say, hey, for the month of February, we're going to do whoever puts the most in contract wins a $200 gas card, obviously, because gas is crazy expensive at the moment.
Right.
Then every week at your meetings, you're putting who's in the lead, right? Who's in the lead, who's getting closer. They will do amazing things to get the $200 gas card.
So you would update them every week as to who's
winning. Because if you wait too long, the delayed gratification of knowing who's closest by the end of the month is too far out. If they see it every week, they're like, oh, if I only get one more in contract, I'll be beating Sue. I'll be in the lead. So they start to get like motive. It's so crazy. It's crazy, but it works. So creating little things like that. And then over time, you could take it up a notch. As you see that they start getting into production, we started increasing what our rewards were. So it started out as a gas card, then it became a Chromebook. Like we did a Chromebook, then we did an iPad Pro. And like, I know a team in Houston that gives out Louis Vuitton bags, but I mean, like, I know, like she actually keeps a thing in her office that's locked up. It's a glass cabinet. And she goes and buys different bags. It's almost all women on her team. But she does get stuff for men, like wallets and whatnot. And she keeps it in the office in a glass cabinet locked up, and so that they can see.
Oh my God, I love that.
What the wins are. Yeah. So over time, but the point is that the activities have to be the things that you know are going to close transactions and make money.
Yeah.
So that's why we don't make it by phone calls, because a lot of times they'll bid a number of calls that they made or whatever, but we can clearly define what went into contract for each person. Or even if they have to report to you on how many buyer appointments they go on, or listing appointments, or if they're required to sign a buyer loyalty agreement, they have to submit those to me in order to qualify. I see them signed by a client. Like I've agreed to work with this agent for the next 6 months. Those are money-making activities that we know will result in closings for the team. So those are the kinds of things that you can do to get them going, because it's fun and they're super competitive. It's crazy how competitive they are over little tiny things. But once they start earning for that and you feel like, okay, I'm starting to finally get some income from the team, then you can step it up a bit and say, whoever had the most closings, whoever had the most this, or whatever it is, and you can make the reward bigger and bigger. Does that make sense?
Yeah, makes a lot of sense.
It's like the carrot, not the stick.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I wrote down all your
And just come up with something that you think is like gas cards have been very effective lately, just because gas has been so expensive. Things like that. And like what I used to do, and this is totally up to you, but I used to go to, because I shop at Costco, for smaller little things. So when we would run a smaller contest, I would just go and buy the gift cards that they had at Costco, whatever they were in little packets, right? Depending on what they had each month. And I would keep them in my drawer. So I could also reward someone if they did a really incredible job one week, whether or not I was running a contest or not. Right. So just kind of keep them, Starbucks and this and that, and be like, okay. And I would announce it though at the meeting. Hey, I noticed that Joe was really incredible. Like he converted like 5 buyers on the phone this week, made them into appointments. We saw it all in the system. And, Joe, just to congratulate you for an incredible week, here's a Starbucks gift card for whatever. Because then they start getting excited about that.
So they just never know. So they're just going to,
they never know. They're just going to do a good job any which way. Yeah.
I had an agent who made like 500 dials last month, and I highlighted them at our team.
Yeah.
I should have had a gift card ready.
Yeah. And those are just keep them in your drawer, lock them up, and be like, okay, I've got them when I need them. At one point, our office was right next to a grocery store. That was super convenient for me, because I could be like, get the card and come back. But then I got smarter, and I was like, let me go to Costco, get them while they have because you always get a little bit off when you buy them in the Costco packet anyway. So little things to kind of keep in your pocket for down the road. I know I've been doing a lot of talking. I hope you're getting a lot out of this today.
Oh my gosh, yeah, so helpful. I didn't even know these classes existed. I would have started here
That's
months
okay.
ago.
We've only been doing them for a couple of months, so it's okay.
Oh, okay, cool.
And it
So
varies, like I said, each time it varies a little bit depending on what people need.
got it. Okay, yeah, this has been helpful. So every first and third
At first and third
day of the month,
Monday. Yep.
I'll
Yep.
be here.
Awesome. There's a lot to learn. Listen, I've been doing this for years and I'm still finding ways to tweak it and make it better,
Yeah.
and 9 times out of 10, it's that we want it more than they do, or maybe they don't understand the purpose of what we're doing. And some people truly are in it for just a couple of transactions a year, and that's okay for them. It's just really hard as a team leader to kind of manage that process,
Yeah.
And then I would say, as you're recruiting, if you're thinking about scaling back, I wouldn't scale back until you really dig into the people you have right now, see where that goes first, and then decide if you need to scale back. And then moving forward, when you're looking for people, the average time it takes for me to recruit someone is a minimum usually of 4 appointments before I make the commitment. I know it seems like a lot, but I'm making sure we're the right fit on both sides, right?
Yeah.
So that first, and I never talk splits in the first one, ever. We never even talk about what the split is. It's really just getting to know them a little bit and finding out what they want. Because 9 times out of 10, if they're coming from somewhere else, a different brokerage or a different team, I'm trying to find what they didn't get where they were and what they're looking for. So that first conversation is about that. The second conversation, I usually DISC assess them. If you're not familiar with DISC, you are. I usually DISC them and then I send them the report, and then we schedule a second call where we go over it. The reason I do that is because most of the DISC is about how they like to be communicated with and how they like to work. So I find out whether or not it correctly reflects who and what they are, because mine says I love spontaneity, which is a complete and total lie. Ask my children. Do not come to me the day before a project is due and tell me you need poster board. I will lose my mind. Hate spontaneity. But that's what my DISC says. And so a lot of times I'm going through it to make sure it correctly reflects. The other side of that is if you DISC your whole team, it's easier when there is conflict to be able to go to a binder. I usually have a binder in the office that has everyone's DISC assessment in it. And anytime there's a conflict, I switch to both people's DISCs and we find out what their communication style is. Most of the time it's that they're not talking to each other in the way that I don't want them to hear. Okay. And that can happen inside of a team if someone says, oh, I'll cover some showings for you while you're on vacation, if you'll cover some for me while I'm on vacation. And then all of a sudden there's a conflict about something that was said. They're not communicating well, something's happening. And you also start to see how well are they in alignment with what the standard DISC assessment is for their role. Sometimes they're not in the right role. There are very specific DISCs that clearly can identify whether or not they really should be a buyer's agent, a listing agent, an admin. Now, I don't hire and fire to the DISC because I have seen wildly successful people have the opposite DISC of what they should. But it helps me understand them a little bit better and communicate with them better. So that's number 2. That's appointment number 2. Appointment number 3 is typically after all of that is said and done, we've dug into a little bit more about what they want, what they're looking for, what their communication style is, and we review the core values on number 2. Then it's like, okay, let's talk about what our splits are and what we give as a team and what we expect you to give as a member of the team. Showing up for huddles, showing up for sales meetings, holding open houses, contacting leads, like you said, 12 to 16 times in the first 2 to 3 weeks. Like, what are the expectations that we expect from you as a team member? And what should you expect from us? Guidance, mentorship, assistance with negotiations. You said you have an admin, things like that. Like, what are you getting? What are we getting? And what does that look like? That's number 3, typically. Number 4 is if they say they want to move forward. It's a beautiful thing because you already have a good number of people on your team. I have them either come to a team meeting and actually meet the other agents and have the agents provide me feedback on what they felt about the agent, or I have them do a one-on-one lunch or a coffee break with someone from the team. And then they give feedback as well. And they talk about like it's good for them to have an outside, because as a recruiter, they're thinking, oh, well, you're just going to tell me what I want to hear. They want to hear from somebody who's there and experiencing it. And if after number 4, everybody's in agreement, we move forward, then great, we're moving forward.
Okay.
But at that point, we're like, okay, this is a win-win. Everybody feels good about it. You feel like you're getting what you need. We feel like we're getting what we need. Everybody's in alignment. Yay. It's like, we don't just take everybody off the street.
Right. Yeah. Now that never again.
Yes,
That
I
was
know. We've
I-
all done it.
Oh, good. Yeah, I kind of told them this too. Like, we're not hiring any part-time realtors anymore. Like, if you are part-time and you're here, like you got grandfathered in, but there's an expectation out of you, that you can't just mute the chat and not like participate and be an actual team member of this team. So, and I told them too, like they would also have a say on the team members that we do bring in if they feel like they're it. So
You've got the basics already there.
yeah, I just got to tighten them up and hone them in and stay
Yes.
true to it. So
Yeah, it's hard. We get busy, especially as team leaders. You're like, okay, I've got this and this and this and this and this. I do encourage you, exactly what you said was, if you have to be in production, you should be focusing totally on listings. That's it. You earn the most money per hour as a listing agent. Buyers are going to take 20 to 30 hours of your time minimum. So your hourly rate just went way down. Way down. So you focus on listings until you can hire a listing partner, meaning someone that you hire to come onto the team, that is their job, that they are bringing on listings. But 9 times out of 10, I say that a lot. I just realized I say 9 times out of 10 a lot. Most of the time, the team leader is the lead listing producer until they find someone really great to replace them in that aspect, and everyone else is operating as a buyer's agent.
Got it. That makes sense. I mean, right now I am the most listing person on the team.
Yeah. Yeah.
What if you have sellers that want to buy and sell? Like I'm representing a seller that's looking
Give
to buy.
the buyer, nope. Give the buyer to one of the team members.
Oh, wow.
How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I don't know. Because I guess we just have a strong relationship. So I've been taking her shopping in addition to helping her list her home. It's been a lot. Like she's just been taking up a lot of my time, in and out of houses, plus trying to stage, clean, paint, do all
That's
photography.
why you shouldn't be doing it.
Yeah.
So the reason that we do that is twofold. One, you become the listing master, and that's all you do, right?
Yeah.
And you can say, and it's all in confidence in how you say it, I appreciate that you want me to help you with the buy side as well, but I have buyer specialists on my team that this is what they do day in and day out. They are better going to be able to serve you in that capacity because that is what they are trained to do. I list homes. I list homes. I train these people. They work as an extension of me. They will report back to me on what you're looking for and things like that. They reflect all of my standards. I'm still here. They're still going to let me know how it's going, but they're going to handle you as a buyer. I'm going to handle the sale of your home. They're going to handle you as a buyer. We're going to communicate regularly to make sure everything's on track, but that's their role. I do this to make sure that no matter what, if a new home comes on the market and I'm busy, they know they can get you in that home, right? Now they're an extension of me. There's nothing that's going to delay you getting in because I'm handling another listing or I'm doing something else, right? So it's all about the confidence in how you say it. The other side of that, Liliana, is that when we tell people that they join our team as a buyer's agent and you keep buyers, we've broken a little bit of a commitment to saying that we will give all buyers leads to buyer's agents, right? They're like, oh, well, why is she hanging on to that one? Oh, what, so it starts to create something within that culture that we don't want.
Right.
And now they may come to you and say, well, I have a listing. My cousin wants to list their house. Those should be referred to you if they are truly buyer's agents only. And they're going to say, well, I don't understand. Why would I refer them? Now, obviously, they're still going to earn, right? You're going to give them whatever you give them on their splits. And you say, well, I gave you my cousin last week as a buyer. So it's either way. It works both ways. So there's no confusion there. And that's just about creating that level of specialty within the team.
Got it. And they're okay with that? They're okay with giving all the listings over to Rick or whatever the case.
Well, Rick's got people grandfathered in that was the case before. Now we have new buyer's agents that they know that is the role. You're a buyer's agent. You handle buyers. If you have a listing that comes in, we will absolutely, based on our splits and our contracts, we will do that. But they're represented by Rick.
Got it. And he's the main agent on the contract, or
He's the main.
Okay. All right, good to know. That's definitely something culture that I need to.
Well, everybody runs it a little bit differently, make it work for you. But if you truly want to operate the most efficiently for you as a team leader, it's going to be listings.
Yeah.
You have a lot more control over your time in that respect. Buyers are just going to suck the life out of you. They just really do. They
Put
really
one in your
do.
face this morning. I was like,
Yeah.
shoot, you're all over. But yes, okay, that makes a lot of sense. And then yeah, I learned a lot on this meeting. I'm so happy.
Good. Now,
Mhm.
I know we didn't touch on your admin. Is there something that you feel like I could help there?
Yeah, so I know like a lot of teams have like operations managers or
Mhm.
like listing managers that kind of handle all of the details behind that. My admin right now, she just kind of helps with like marketing, social media, things like that. I don't really have her answering emails for me or like running any of the details on the list side besides installing, taking off signs, very uninvasive things.
Okay.
Um, I think, and I mean, and she's like a doer. She's not like a proactive, like if I like, she's definitely like a just tell me what I need to do and I'll do it.
I'll
She's
do
not
it.
like a person that'll just go and do for you without having to
Gotcha.
tell her. So I don't
Okay.
even know if she's the right person for the job to give that promotion to, or should I be hiring someone else, or I don't know.
Okay. Well, a couple things. So one, is she working for you 40 hours a week?
No, she does like
Okay.
20 a week right
Okay.
now.
Okay. I was gonna say for 40 hours a week, she better be doing your listing stuff.
Oh,
Okay. So okay. So that is definitely something to think about. So usually when how many transactions are you guys closing a month on average, you think?
yeah. A month we're doing, I want to say like 5 to 6. We should be doing.
Okay. Okay. So I would maybe try it out and see if she had a checklist of what needed to be done for listing work.
Yeah.
Like could she do it if she had the list and be proactive enough to get it accomplished? Right.
Right.
What that looks like. Who's doing your transaction work?
I have a TC.
You do have a TC. Excellent. Okay, good. Contract only, not employee.
Just a contract only.
Yeah, got it, got it, got it. So
Transition.
things like are you no, I'm just asking like some people just have like we do. It's like she just gets closed per transaction.
Mhm.
That's what you have. Yeah. Okay. The team I ran in New York, we actually had in-house staff TC, and then we had an in-house staff listing manager, but we had on average 40 active listings at any one given time. So kind of needed that. We actually ended up with 2 TCs, 1 listing manager, an operations manager, a social media manager, and all that gobbledygook. It got really, really big. She should be able to handle putting things into MLS for you, getting all of that stuff. But 20 hours a week, I would say probably not long term if you started to list more. If you, I would maybe DISC her. Do you have access to DISC assessments?
I
Like
think
to be
I
able to.
Googled it, right? Is it?
Okay, yeah. I might send you my link if you just tell me her name and everything, and you can use my link, and then I'll send you the report. I'm just curious to see what it says because you can kind of see whether or not people fit within the realm of being doers or active. Kind of
Right.
get out there and do that. But even at 20 hours a week with 5 to 6 closings a month, she should be able to do more for you. I would say
Mhm.
maybe does she not know what to do? Could that be part of it?
I think it's a little bit of both.
Okay.
I think it's like
Okay.
I don't know how to like I've broken down checklists for her. Like I've given her a checklist. I think it's a little bit of me not knowing exactly like what to tell her to
What
do.
to tell? Okay.
Yeah. And how I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're giving me some ideas, so you might see like a crazy email from me in just a little
Oh my
bit.
God.
Yeah. Now,
I
Sochi, I'll help you in that respect. Now, Sochi, I know that you're there with your 7-year-old, so I know you're just listening mode. If you need anything separately, put it in the chat box. I know my 11-year-old's in the other room, so I totally get it. He's remote schooling from a different state this week. And Tom, anything that I can do for you today? I know we only have a couple minutes left, but I feel like if you have something.
I've been learning a lot listening to everything that you're saying to Liliana. This has been really good.
Good.
It's just really great listening to the expectation on mindset, on standards, on activity. It's good. I'm taking notes for myself. I want to get together with you. I know it's been a while since we talked. I man, my life has been crazy, and I owe you an explanation for that text as well. I'm so excited. I entered a speech contest that was sponsored by Grant Cardone. And it was like thousands of people from all over the country. I entered it, and you had 60 seconds to tell your story. And if they liked what you said, then you go to round 2, which is a minute, 120 seconds. Tell your, yeah, big change, huh? justify your life. And so I qualified for that, and now I'm going to Miami for the semifinals next week.
That's awesome.
So so that's 100 people day one that gets pared down to 20 people for day two, and then out of those 20, only 3 will qualify to on Grant Cardone's growth conference in 2023.
That's so awesome.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. So I'm learning about, and I want to talk to you about the reason this is important to me, because it fits into the bigger picture for both production and recruiting for me, which I feel like is video and public speaking and stages and things like that. It's the thing that I feel like, I have a big team. I don't, I'm not a Brent Gove or whatever. So I'm or Rick Jiha. So I feel like what I can do is reach a lot of people with video and a lot of people with stages, and I can reach them massively in a very short period of time. So
I love it. You want me to send you my link so you can book them? I'm here in California until the 15th.
Oh yeah, please. That would be great.
Yeah, I'll send you my link. And Liliana, I'm going to send you mine as well, just so we can kind of follow up on some of the stuff I send you. It'll let you book on my calendar for any time that's available. Maybe we can follow up on everything that I send you if you've got any questions. You're in a kind of an interesting stage right now. And I think it's a great opportunity. I think you can look at it and say, hey, do I have who I have, and can I help them be more productive, or do I scale back a little bit based on having conversations with them? But I think that very first step, and most of us skip it in the very beginning, is going to be core values. Have them sit down and come to that together, and then you'll kind of see things shift from there. Once they all come to an agreement on what that you all believe defines you as a team, a lot can happen.
And then if you have any like business planning workbooks that you send, that way we can have them write it down and put it in writing, because we've kind of just went over it uninvasively, but I want to
Yep. Rick and I just actually held one 2 weeks ago. We ended up doing it live in San Ramon, and then EXP asked us to live stream it, which we did, which is crazy. Had to figure that out one day. My resume is growing, and but we got it figured out. But we have a great workbook that I can send you the digital link, and you can print it out, and it'll guide you through exactly what that looks like for setting their goals for 2023.
Awesome.
Easy peasy. Guys, I have to run. You guys have been amazing today. I really appreciate the time. Tom, I can't wait to send you my link and talk to you more about this. And Liliana, I'll send you a bunch of stuff here in a little bit. And then you can book as well, and we'll do a follow-up. And Sochi, if you need us, we're here. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Selena. Look forward to talking to you soon.
All right,
Bye-bye.
bye.
Good luck out there, Tom. If I don't get to talk to you, hopefully you're in the winning.
Thank you. I'll let you know. I'll let Selena know. She can let the team know. So thank you.
I will.
Happy holidays.
Bye, guys.